Hello, Kin 454. This is Richard McWilliams, and I'll be going over our critical assignment of psychological aspects of sport and exercise. So here we go. So our target population for this were two high school baseball players. I decided to choose a pitcher and a shortstop as they both provide similar but very different mental aspects, as well as preparation and just their daily duties of what they were doing. So I wanted to kind of tap into both. Um, so we'll be covering things such as pregame preparation, daily routines, practice habits, social, environmental factors, as well as their mental focus and preparation. So, in terms of their social environments, they both come from very different social circles. While Jim came from a more outdoors and adventurous influence, to say the least. He was in Boy Scouts all of his life, so it really gave him a love for being outside, which is another added reason why he loves sports and baseball specifically, as it's all outdoors. While Tim, on the other hand, came from a more sports and video games social circle, which also gave them the ability to work in group settings, even though it was online, but still learning to collaborate as a team to set to one common goal. When we found our common ground between Jim and Tim, they both had great teamwork and team building and team exercising abilities. So, in terms of their family culture, um, Tim comes from a family of athletes. He has two other brothers who were also collegiate and professional athletes. But the great thing is his family is very supportive in whatever he wants to do in terms of his post high school decision making. While he had a great strive and need for autonomy, uh, which is the need to have input into decisions or some way own them. So this helped with, Tim's leadership skills and helping him fulfill his duty of wanting that autonomy through being a team captain. While Jim, on the other hand, is the oldest of two brothers, while he also comes from a family of athletes, he was more inclined for a need for competence, which has to do with the feeling confident and efficacious. He just really, being good at baseball and sports gave him an inner confidence to go pursue, any other endeavors past just baseball. So it was really interesting to see how, while these two kids come from very similar backgrounds within their family culture, they had very different needs. So continuing with their environmental factors, between their biggest spout for motivation were to further perfect their baseball skills and to play into college. It's a goal of most that they want to continue to pursue athletics until they are, most of the time physically unable to. So it was great to see that their internal motivation factors were to continue to pursue baseball further past high school. But while on top of that, their greatest stress was getting into a top tier academic as well as athletic um, college and school. So while they're internally motivated, they still had the day to day stress of really having to keep on top of their not just athletic skill but their academic skill as well. Um, they both had a great personal inner drive for success, and they were very intrinsically motivated. I think this just comes from them being in sports for a great deal of their lives. It just seems like it kind of the common athlete is molded into an intrinsically motivated person because of this. They both showed extreme great coachability and a competence to learn. A huge asset of being an athlete and great factors that help deciding, with college and professional coaches is is this player coachable, and how can I help him learn? And does he have the ability to learn? The great thing for both of these kids is they're so coachable. Through observing them through their practices, their off-campus workouts, and in their games, they had a ability to adapt on the fly and learn. So in terms of personal goals, we looked at their outcome, process, and performance goals. With our pitcher, he wanted to win a league championship as well as a state championship while keeping his ERA under 1.5, as well as being able to effectively and timely use each of his pitches. They all kind of segue into each other, as with being effective, it'll help keep a low ERA, and with a low ERA will potentially come with wins, which ends up winning your league championship and your state championship. While on the other hand, very similar goals of our position player. He wanted to lose less than 6 games over a 28-game season, while hitting over 300 and being able to find more fluidity in his swing to increase his power numbers. Once again, the process will lead to performance, will lead to the outcome. They're all collaborative with each other. So in terms of goal setting, I like this SMART acronym, or specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. While these all, once again, go in part with each other, it really helps to make goals that are realistic, that are specific, measurable, and within a short time frame, a realistic time frame. As an athlete might want to put on 15 pounds of muscle over the off season, but is that realistic? Maybe. Depends on his prior background. But through their goals that they have set, they hit all of these SMART acronyms. So in terms of solutions, our pitching client, wants to win a league championship, win a state championship, and to do this, it's just gonna help have him keep track of their team initiative, their team goals, as well as getting players motivated, as well as keeping everybody eligible through their academics throughout the season. While he wants to keep his ERA under 1.5, what's our solution? We figured, as being a former pitcher myself, it's all about being aggressive, attacking the strike zone, being effective with your pitches, and limiting walks at the end of the day. And that segues into our process goal of being able to use your pitches effectively and timely. We figured that we could use simulation games and bullpen work to address the weaknesses and the little tweaks that we need to make to help these players be better. And most importantly, build their confidence, because it's everything when it comes to sport. And we're going to do this through bullpen sessions and live scrimmages to make sure when it comes game day, they are fully prepared. In terms of our position players' goals, our outcome goal is very similar. He wants to lose a very minimal amount of games, and that just keeps with keeping everybody focused, having a set routine, a game day routine, and making sure and keeping players accountable at the end of the day. In terms of his performance goals, he wants to hit over 300 while he hit 250 in preseason. It's just going to be more routine cage work and batting practice and finding his weaknesses throughout his swing, which will lead to our process goals of being more fluid. We joke about it, but using the analogy of throwing a frisbee will help create a smoother swing for the player, which will in turn help with his power numbers, which will in turn help with him hitting over 300 and then winning more games. So I found a case study led by a Dr. Professor Rebecca Aiken out of Kentucky University, and she found that high school athletes were performed better in school and were more persistent to graduate more than a non-athlete, simply due to the fact that there's a participation factor, and it improves their persistence and chances of success simply due to having to be eligible in order to play. If your grades suffer, so does your playing time. So through this study, it was kind of cool to see that the athlete community is still strong academically. While they may not be smarter, they just have a greater rate to graduate and achieve their academic goals as well as their athletic goals. So my mission statement is going to come from John 13 through 17. It says, "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, will be blessed if you do them." This really spoke to me, as I've always had this feeling of giving back and being able to share my knowledge and skill set to help others in their own journey. Now that I have reached into more of a coaching rather than a playing facet of my career, it's just so powerful to be able to instill the knowledge that these kids need and deserve at the end of the day, and really setting them on the right path for success. So that's our firm base for our future plans. So my most learned lessons throughout this course were really, I loved learning about our different athlete motivational factors. It was so interesting to see and be able to relate as an athlete myself what really motivates us, and actually learning, and not just going through the steps in the learning process as the athlete themselves, but really learning how we tick and why we tick and what can make us better through that. It was also really interesting to see how a social and physical environment can really affect someone, and how dynamic goal setting is, and how important it is to be realistic with your goals, but as well as putting your big challenges ahead of you. So that's pretty much it. There's our references. But yeah, I hope everyone had a great semester, and if you're close to graduating, I hope to see you at graduation. Thanks, guys.